Hello and welcome to the first of Stanford Black's Women in Tech video series. Now, the aim of these are to progress and support women in the technology and finance industries. Stanford Black's one of London's leading technology and trading recruitment firms. It works with both organisations and candidates to ensure placements are the right fit on both sides and therefore long term. So let's get started. Today's conversation, we're focusing on personal development, coaching and utilising support within your network. I'm delighted that joining me are Roxy Harrington, Operations and Inclusion Manager at Stanford Black. Hello, Roxy.
Hi.
And Catherine Smith, Co-founder, Managing Partner and Executive Coach at Equal Talent. Hello, Catherine.
Hello.
And I guess it's important to start by saying this discussion isn't just for women, it's also for male colleagues, male team leaders and men who hire candidates or are advocates of gender equality also in the workplace. Now, Roxy, you start. Perhaps tell us why Stanford Black is so interested in having an initiative to support women working in the finance and technology industries, because it is still an issue. Just on your website, on the Women in Tech section, you look at the statistics, it's shocking to see the gender imbalance in positions and roles.
Yes, so across the industries that we recruit within and the roles that we recruit for, it's 13% of women currently hold those roles, and it's just not good enough in our opinion. It's something that is quite frustrating. It's 2021. I feel like this issue shouldn't be as big as it is. And I think there's also a lot of talk around this particular subject, and not a lot of action is followed through after the conversations that have been had. And so this is something that we think that as Stanford Black, in the position that we're in, we can actually make a big difference within, as we're in the unique position that we can see both the candidate side as well as the issues that our clients are facing. And so having that insight and that perspective and understanding the barriers that women are coming up against is, I think, is a really insightful position to be in, and a way that we can actually, help the cause.
With equality being so prevalent and such a big debate at the moment in every workforce and industry, why is Stanford Black so specifically looking at gender inequality in the tech and finance sectors?
So I think D&I is such a huge but important topic, and it's quite easy to get overwhelmed when looking at it. And I know personally from a HR background, a lot of companies do struggle with it because it's such a broad subject. So when we sat down and looked at where we'd be able to have the most amount of impact with creating an initiative like this, and where we had the expertise, it was within gender diversity and diversity within gender. We're the top diversity supplier to all of our clients. We've also been sought out by clients as well who have specifically looked to us to help them with their gender imbalance.
And Catherine, I mean, you're nodding along to that. Here we are in 2021, and it's still such a relevant issue.
There are what I would call systemic challenges. And so if you look at very, very recent times and the situation we find ourselves in with things such as lockdown, stereotypically, the women will pick up all of the childcare or the caring responsibilities. And so that is a barrier. And I say stereotypically because I know there are a lot of men out there who would also very much like to be doing the childcare. And that's the systems challenge, is that it doesn't allow for both men and women on equal terms to pick up caring responsibilities. So that would be a barrier. There's also the challenges around culture and organisational culture. And some of our organisations, maybe it's an immature approach to leadership, I don't know, but the cultures are very alpha in their approach, and it's not necessarily a fit for everybody. And again, we talk about women and we talk about stereotypical behaviours, but sort of the bro culture, the very aggressive cultures, the unforgiving cultures aren't necessarily a fit for women. And you tend to see in some of the stats that you get an awful lot of attrition from the pipeline as a result of it.
Roxy, again, some of the statistics on stanfordblack.com, where you're talking about a third of women in fintech, it's still only a third. And it's perhaps that, it's evolved on, and it's not perhaps in its infancy in the startups, but it still is an industry that's relatively closed because you've only got a third of the population working in it as as female. So I guess it must have that dynamic still that that people are fighting against.
Yes, definitely. I think technology is one of the worst for the gender imbalance, but then bringing that into a finance scope as well, it makes it even harder. So finding those candidates, women candidates, is going to take that little bit longer. So that's a process and something that we need to make our clients aware of. If they are really serious about hiring for diversity and hiring for gender diversity, then it is going to take maybe a little bit more time, because like you said earlier, you're not going to just, if you're just going to hire the first person that comes to your desk, it's probably going to be a male. And it just goes to, I think it's one, roughly, with our own market data, for every one female candidate, we've got 30 plus men who are applying for that same role. So it's I guess the law of probability that it's you're more likely to going to hire a male, whether if you're not specifically looking to improve your gender imbalance, then that's still going to be an issue.
And Catherine, when you're talking, to the women that you help, is there a real sense of having to overcome that, rather than the actual dynamic of the industries evolving and changing? Again,
it's sort of, you look at, it's multi-layered, isn't it? Some of the barriers for women coming into tech. So the women are there. There's sort of a lot of evidence to suggest that women won't apply for roles if they can't see people like them within it. So to your point earlier, that if you look across an organization and you can't see women in it, then there are questions to be asked. Is this for me? Do I have role models? So we almost have that catch-22, that I can't see a leader and who's like me, who's female like me. So do I want to be here? I also think there's some barriers around some more need around a much more inclusive culture. And by that, if you look at the structure of organizations then, and tech organizations, it's that ask of flexibility, and not flexibility in flexible hours necessarily and just the working element, but it's a flexibility in terms of embracing people who are very different. Women and men are different. Women to women are very different, and we've all got very different needs. So it keeps coming back to me for the cultural point that is a barrier. And then I think there's another thing there around women and behaviours. And again, I'm being really stereotypical because this isn't just a female challenge, but women stereotypically may be suffering from things such as imposter phenomenon or lack of confidence. They don't have in their toolkit the ability to have what we'd call a very assertive conversation, and that opportunity to push back when they have challenges from the workplace. So there's a whole multitude of reasons, I think, as to why we don't see as many women in that tech workplace as we should be seeing.
And Roxy, very much Stanford Black, on your dealings with clients in particular, some are proactively coming to you specifically because of your great record in gender equality and having a great talent pool that is diverse.
I think that having the conversation with hiring managers about their own D&I plans, what stage they're at as well in their particular journey, so we can assess and make sure that the fit is going to be right on both sides, so that candidate is going to feel comfortable in that environment and understanding the team.
And picking up off the back of that, Catherine, what is the most, the request you get asked for the most in terms of support from female candidates?
It is almost interlinked, really. So if we're working with clients who are already well within a tech career and tech company, then quite a lot of their barriers and challenges are around the culture. And culture then is all about behavior. And if you don't have the toolkit as an individual to challenge and to push the culture to support you in the best possible way, then the likelihood is that you're not going to progress your career either within that organization, or sadly, as many women choose to do, is to leave the profession in any case. And they're not leaving tech, they're leaving what is a very, very challenging environment to be in because of their needs, and their needs, as we've discussed, linked to caring responsibilities. And not only that, it's a case of being valued for their contribution. And again, it keeps coming back to culture every single time. It's a cultural thing.
And with your title, and particularly executive coach, it's not just an issue still for women who are starting out or at the beginning of their careers even. This is for women who are successful and in leading positions, presumably.
Yes, it's interesting, isn't it? We leave school or university or college or whatever, all incredibly enthused about our career. And I would say, if you spoke to some of our younger generation, they are absolutely motivated for the most brilliant career. And it's possibly not until they get into, their promotion, they're looking for promotion or their next role, that they start to become very aware of some of these hidden barriers that stop them from progressing. And it's an easy observation. You see your male colleagues progressing, or you leave meetings thinking, I'm just not getting my voice heard, or I had an idea and it's been presented by somebody else and it has been heard. So it starts to subtly unwrap itself as we progress through our careers.
And would you say that, regular training and ongoing can be the key to unlocking that? Or for someone who's perhaps, worn with being in that environment that doesn't suit them particularly, is it better to perhaps turn to their networks to look for support? You mentioned earlier, Catherine, a mentor or someone in their network already or in their organisation who might be someone to have a conversation with about, this is the sort of thing I'm experiencing now. Is it safe to talk to you about it?
I absolutely believe in the power of our network and the different roles that our network can play for us. So, there is the mentor, as you've mentioned, there's the coach. The coach helps you raise your self-awareness and do some deep thinking. You have the sponsor who has your back and will put you forward for different opportunities. So, yes, Laura, I'd say definitely use your network.
And Roxy, how important is it to have a network if you are still looking to succeed in the chosen industries of finance and tech?
I think that, a lot of our candidates do come to us through referrals, and especially a lot of women as well. I think it just proved with this particular project, actually, and running the interview series, that we've reached out to so many different women that we wouldn't have necessarily have spoken to just through the network, and asking, our current women in our networks, do you know anyone who would be interested in this project? Do you have anyone who's going to have particularly good insights, who's in the industry and working in this industry? And it was unbelievable, the uptake that we got and the response we got. It was quite overwhelming, to be honest. And that all came from just asking and putting the question out there, and not kind of being afraid, and that curiosity that we had with the project initially. And it's just completely took us by surprise, a very pleasant surprise.
Catherine, it's a difficult time. You're talking about the culture of an organisation. If someone knows it's not right for them, here we are, hopefully coming to the end of a pandemic. Should they be looking for a job when there's so much uncertainty in the industry and in these industries, but also in the wider economy? It could be quite, disruptive to them to walk away from a job that arguably pays for the bills.
Absolutely. And there's a realism here, isn't there? Because we do have our mortgages to pay. But yes, I do think that people should be considering their long-term career. At the moment, we're losing so many women, and they're leaving the industry. They're not just leaving a company, they're leaving the industry. So I think my advice or my guidance would be, practice a little bit of impulse control. So acknowledge that there's pain and start to get a plan together, and don't do it alone. I think we're kind of not encouraged to share our problems, are we? So a problem shared is a problem to halve. There's a reason for that saying. And reach out and connect with your network and their network in terms of getting support and guidance, because there are some fantastic companies out there, some fantastic opportunities. The tech sector, actually, I think, is buoyant at the moment despite the pandemic. So don't suffer, but equally don't jump from what we'd call the frying pan into the fire. Just a little bit of impulse control and get a plan.
And Roxy, what would your advice be to someone who's perhaps considering changing company because they've come to the end of their tether with where they're working?
I'd say don't put up with it. It's not a nice situation to be in. I think you really need to have belief in your company you're working for, and have the same core values. And if you want to work in a diverse and inclusive workplace, then that that should be something that you work towards. And timing isn't great at the moment, but as you mentioned, Catherine, the technology industry is doing extremely well considering. I'd also say that when you're looking for a position, I think a lot of people are almost a bit concerned to come to a recruitment agency because they feel like they're just going to be pressured into the first job. That is absolutely not our approach. We take a lot more of a considered approach to our recruitment methods, and we'll give you honest feedback and advice on the market.
So if we're talking about progressing and supporting women in the tech and finance sectors, I mean, Roxy, it's not just about, I guess, having a look and seeing what else is around there. It's about actual practical advice and training to develop someone that isn't just a one-off. It's something that can be built on, and it's something you're partnering with Catherine for the long term, isn't it?
Yeah, so when we started the SB Women in Tech initiative, we wanted to make sure that we were partnering with other organisations to really strengthen this initiative. And one of the ways that we wanted to strengthen it was by helping women to progress within their current role. Whether that be someone that we've placed us personally or not, just within our networks, we wanted to have a space and a trusted organisation that we'd be able to turn to and say, if you're looking for coaching, if you're looking to really help on any of these pain points, or have an organisation that is going to support you, this is the organisation that we've partnered with. This is an organisation we trust. And I'll leave it over to you, Catherine, to take over.
Thank you. Yes, so I think if you look at women in their development, there is a plethora of technical training courses out there. You can become a brilliant technician. The work that we're doing is all around behaviours, and it's the point around building confidence, building impact and presence, having assertive conversations. It's about emotional intelligence. And so that partnering with Stanford Black, where they can give brilliant recruitment support and insight into their organizations that they're working with, we can complement that in terms of how can we help you develop and to become a better career professional than you already are, and increase your toolkit of behaviors. So one of the things that we're really proud of is our She Has No Limits membership, which brings all sorts of different elements of coaching and development for women to access. And hopefully that will complement their careers.
I know for a fact that a lot of women don't even know that these types of networks and organisations exist. We've been speaking to a number of our women candidates about She Has No Limits, and just not having that awareness that these types of services do exist and how helpful they can be. So this partnership with Catherine and She Has No Limits makes complete sense to us.
Yeah, I mean, if I could jump in there, the She Has No Limits it's around performance. It's about growth, personal growth. It's not a knitting club. It's definitely allyship and friendship and support and challenge. So, in our earlier conversation, we were talking about networks and people who've got your back and people who support you. But it's basic. Its premises, to support women and their allies to have careers that they deserve.
And it's often senior men or male leaders who do support women. It's not just we're generalizing, saying that this never happens. Only connect with the women in your network. It's the person who supports you the most for where you want to be. Yeah. And I think, again, it's stereotypical here, but women aren't as good at maintaining their networks as men. And so, yes, there's a degree of education in here in terms of, you're right, you need to tap into people who have got your back. And there are loads of men out there, loads of fantastic allies, and we just need more of them. And Catherine, what would your one piece of advice be for women who are looking to get into or further their careers in the tech and finance industry? What would you say is the most important thing that they should be looking at? Is it reflecting on themselves, or is it, again, not being afraid to speak out and to stand out? I think personally it's about checking out the culture of the organisation and making sure that it fits their wants and needs and their authentic selves, and not to be too flattered by job offers until they've really done their due diligence around, what is the leadership style here? What are the teams like? How inclusive are they?
Let me talk to other employees within the team just to check out what the stories that they're being told. And it is a balance. There's a balance between it being both the culture and the system and the individual. And so there's lots of stuff we can do for ourselves as individuals and around our development and our growth and our behaviors to enable our career success, but they do go hand in hand. So I think my one piece of advice is, you can work on yourself and you can improve yourself. Make sure you've got the best fit first of all.
And so to you, Roxy, if it's not necessarily a piece of advice, but what would be the one takeaway you think for someone who's watching this discussion is crucial for them to take forward and perhaps be able to action or try in their work environment if they are perhaps thinking, I'm not sure this is the right job for me at the moment or the right business?
Having an open conversation, I think, with anybody within your network. But for example, our SB Women in Tech Ambassadors, that conversation is completely private and confidential. It's not a pushy conversation. We'll give you open and honest feedback as to what's going on in the market, and even perhaps some insight as to your own company and what other opportunities may look like within other teams. Where they've placed other women candidates before. Having that kind of trusted partnership, I think, is something to be valued, and I wouldn't be afraid to kind of reach out into your networks. And it doesn't have to be us specifically, but a recruitment agent that you really trust to give you an accurate and honest opinion as to what's going on in the markets and what you should be expecting from your companies with regards to D&I and feeling comfortable within your current position and your progression as well, is something to be of great value. So I'd always advise to anybody looking for a position to reach out to that trusted agency.
Brilliant. Well, finally, a big thank you to you both, Roxy and Catherine. And don't forget, if you're looking to find out more about Stanford Black's Women in Tech campaign, then you can head to stanfordblack.com and click on the hashtag SB Women in Tech section. And also, if you want to join the conversation, then do follow Stanford Black on LinkedIn, where you can comment, share, and find more information. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.